Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good in our community. And we're going to be busting some myths around breast cancer and talking all about breast cancer and breast cancer awareness, helping you to protect your health. We are honored to be joined by Dr. Fedoria Rugless. She is the Center for Transforming Communities Just Health Champion and also event coordinator. We'll talk about the upcoming event. She's also a research assistant professor for the College of Health Sciences at the University of Memphis and serves as the director of research for Church Health. How are you doing, Dr. Rugless?
I'm great. Glad to be with you today, Jeremy.
Absolutely. So you are doing a lot of good. And when you talk about all those titles, that means you are powering the good for sure in a lot of different ways. But let's start with just a little bit of your personal background. I think you got such a cool personal background. Let's start there. And then we'll talk about the Breast Cancer Consortium and we'll dive into the upcoming event as well. But give us a little bit of your personal backstory.
So I guess some personal backstory. My doctorate is in epidemiology, and I've had a varied career path in clinical research, also in academia. Ultimately, I have a deep burden for my people and for their health and their well-being. And so I've been immersed in all things, especially in this region, with my efforts to improve the health and equity and access for all of our people within the region. So that's where my passion lies, most definitely. So.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the Memphis Breast Cancer Consortium. Talk about that and the tie to the Center for Transforming Communities.
Well, recently, maybe about 6 months ago, there was a merger between Common Table Health Alliance, which served as a neutral convener for a lot of organizations here within the city in the health space, and the Center for Transforming Communities. So after that merger, the Memphis Breast Cancer Consortium, which was housed through Common Table Health Alliance, then went under the Center for Transforming Communities umbrella. So I was on board to help along with some of that transition and made sure that the Memphis Breast Cancer Consortium did stay alive and empowered through that process, because we didn't want those efforts in which to die. So the Memphis Breast Cancer Consortium is made up of several organizations throughout the city, of healthcare organizations, along with survivor groups, patient advocate groups, and other community-based organizations as well, who are all united in this front to truly impact breast cancer awareness and health of our women and men within the city.
And so public policy, advocacy, obviously being proactive with things like mammograms and also too, busting those myths. Talk about overall kind of the mission and the purpose for that sort of effort.
Well, we noticed a while back that Shelby County had one of the highest rates when it came to morbidity and mortality and also incidence of breast cancer diagnosis. And so the consortium was formed to try to help alleviate some of those discouraging trends that we were seeing and to help change the direction and the trajectory of those numbers. And so recently we have seen improvements in that, but it's still a dire statistic. So about here in Shelby County, there are about 132 per 100,000 women who are diagnosed with breast cancer each year. And then our African-American women and women of color are almost twice as likely to die from breast cancer compared to other race and ethnicities. So our goal is to draw in these women who may not necessarily have the knowledge base and the access and things of that nature to kind of bring them in to eradicate this disparity, but also to increase their knowledge and access to resources that they may need.
Give us some of the top, when you talk about kind of putting on your public speaker hat, being the ambassador, the top tips in terms of the age, the frequency. Give us the things that every woman especially needs to know when it comes to breast cancer and breast cancer awareness.
Right. So every woman is supposed to get a mammogram every year, especially after a certain age. And now we are seeing some cases even at a younger age, especially if we know that it's some genetic components involved, if it runs in the family and things of that nature. There are earlier cases of incidences of breast cancer. So you're not too young to get breast cancer. We have, people as young as their 30s who have breast cancer, So the screenings are important, making sure if it's something in your family line to do genetic testing, genetic counseling, as well as being in tune with your body and advocating for yourself in that regard. A lot of times you may notice something and just let it go by and like, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. But it needs to be checked out. And importantly, as soon as possible, otherwise it can progress. And then you're at a later stage and things of that nature, and you're not as proactive in your treatment. So we definitely want to practice prevention. I preach prevention, and as you mentioned, some of my public speaking hats, to preach prevention and in the process, so that we're not further off or further worse off in the long run. And that also goes for men. There are some of these myths, that you mentioned earlier that, it was said, oh, men can't get breast cancer, but yes, they can. And we have, several cases of men with breast cancer, and they do some of the similar things, oh, it would never happen to me, and just ignore it. And men are sometimes the worst when it comes to following up with their physician and their providers and getting checked out. But it's imperative that we take those proactive steps that we need to versus being reactive and catching those things head on and being able to attack it.
When you look at some of the other myths, what are one or two of the other big ones that you want to bust?
Well, that you can get breast cancer from your cell phone, or you can't get breast cancer from it being in your family, or, I just mentioned one, men can never get breast cancer, or there's several out there, that people come up with these crazy stories and, they check with Facebook or Google and, that's their medical knowledge. And we're like, no, that's not the case. So in this Memphis Live Breast Cancer Summit, we bring in experts across the board in all of these different areas to address some of those myths, dispel those myths, and create a sincere and factual knowledge base for our people to have access to and answer all those questions that they may have as well.
Let's go ahead and talk about this event. It's Saturday, May 21st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Hickory Ridge Mall. Talk about this event.
Well, this is the 8th consecutive year that we've done this event, and we bring together previously, pre-COVID, over 700 women would attend this event annually. So the past couple of years, we had to do some hybrid pivoting and do both a virtual and kind of drive-by thing. But this year we are back in person, and we are so excited. It's going to be so great. Our first half of programming is going to be what I mentioned kind of earlier, with sitting down with those experts, being able to have that open conversation in the areas when it comes to things like clinical trials or genetic counseling and treatment, and then wellness and prevention as well. And then we also have a second component that we've made more family friendly. So we want you to bring your friends, your relatives, even something for the children. They're going to be able to engage in STEM activities to also increase their knowledge, and then fun and games. You can win plenty of prizes. We're going to have live music and make it just a fun-filled but knowledge gaining for everyone in the community. So we want everyone to come out and definitely check it out.
How much does diet and things like that play a factor in prevention?
A huge role. So one of our components is going to be on overall health and wellness when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to lifestyle, and whole person health, attacking all of those different areas that are needed. And some people don't realize how certain things do impact your health. So diet, nutrition, exercise, we're going to have people on site to give some exercise demonstrations as well, things you can do at home and on your own to try to, we're going to make sure we provide lunch that's going to be a healthy lunch and food for them to be able to engage with, and also get moving, and have exercise as a part of your routine, and fun facts that you can use along with that as well. So all of that information will be shared too.
What about new protocols, treatment on the R&D side? What puts a smile on your face, or what's exciting for what the future holds?
Well, I know that due to COVID, we noticed that a lot of women didn't necessarily have access to get their mammograms. And so there's been some issues with some of the numbers with those who should have gotten their normal screenings that they would have, not necessarily being able to. So we're also providing an opportunity for them to get mammogram screenings at our Live event. So we will have the mobile mammography units from both Methodist Labana Healthcare and Baptist Memorial Healthcare as well on site. So So if you're able to register ahead of time, and I would encourage everyone to register and go to our website at mbcc.live, Live, where you can register to sign up. And then also, if you want to get a mammogram as well, you can sign up to request a mammogram there, and we'll go through the screening process with you as well. So being able to kind of catch up on some of those activities for those who weren't able to and have access, and then also direct them to providers and resources where they can continue their healthcare journey as well after this event too.
I think the event, and also too, you are a great convener when you look at Methodist, Baptist, Church Health, all these different organizations coming together to work for a higher purpose. Talk about kind of that collaborative effort of the community working together to really be a conduit to help women and men, obviously.
Yes. And I'm real big on that. And I'm getting ready to step on my soapbox for a second. So many times within our region, we have everybody in their own little silos, in their own little corners of the world, kind of spinning the wheel, doing their own thing. But I've always been a proponent that we have a much greater impact and a far greater reach if we're able to combine all those efforts together to reach our people. So I've always been a champion for that. I've also overseen the Healthy Memphis initiative, which brings all of these collaborative organizations together to address some of these common health issues that we have within our region. And so I always say we're better together in impacting our people. So
when you look at some of the other areas that you're working on as an organization, step out and what are some of the other things that kind of play in? Because obviously when you talk about, like we're talking about diet, for instance, well, then food deserts play a role, policy, insurance, medication, like all of these other things, I think play a pivotal role when you talk about the holistic approach to fighting breast cancer. What are some of the other things, kind of the ripple effect that you're looking at as an organization or for you personally that you're kind of working on?
And I'm glad you mentioned that. So a big area right now has to do with the social determinants of health. And we also know them as some of the social drivers of health. So things that you mentioned when it comes to access, when it comes to transportation, when it comes to people being able to get their prescriptions, job security, workforce development, all of those play a role in your overall health. And sometimes people don't realize how much some of those stressors impact their health and wellness. And so take, for instance, if you are a patient that's diagnosed with breast cancer and you have those stressors going on, that would impact your ability to get better, to get your treatment, to get to your appointments, to heal, and your overall optimum health is impacted by that. So we're trying to address all of those. Within, I mentioned the Healthy Memphis Initiative earlier. CTC is also partnering with those organizations when it comes to transit and health equity. So we have a group, a forum that's been formed on that. We also have the Food Insecurity and Food Accessibility Collaborative that we partner, and we bring in all the organizations in the area that work around the food space to collectively address that issue. And so we've developed a proposal and policy that we submitted to the city and the county level to try to garner their support as well as to kind of where that should live and how we should promote that within our communities as well. So we do have these other elements that we are engaged in ongoing to try to make that impact on especially some of these top tier social determinants and drivers of health.
I know that obviously coming out to the event, and once again, the event is Saturday, May 21st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Hickory Ridge Mall. That's an opportunity to engage. How else can we help? Is it through volunteerism, obviously raising awareness, making sure that we and our loved ones are checked every year, like we're talking about, eating healthy? How can we help?
There's different ways you can help. We do have sponsorship packages available for those who would like to be a sponsor for the event. We also have vendors booths available. So if you or your organization would like to have a vendor booth, that's available as well. And then we're also looking for volunteers. We need plenty of volunteers, all hands on deck. So if your organization or some people have some time that they would like to donate, we also are in need of volunteers. So if you do go to the mbcc.live website, there's an option in the drop-down menu in which you can check to sign up as a vendor, or if you want to sign up as a volunteer as well, you can register for those aspects. So we're definitely looking for all the help we can get. It's all hands on deck to definitely pull this off and make this a memorable event and occasion.
Well, obviously, as you mentioned, there are some good news and good statistics in terms of where we're headed. Obviously, still a long way to go, but what makes you excited for the future? So what puts a smile on your face in terms of where we're headed?
Well, I think since the consortium was organized, we've been able to move Shelby County up the ranking, up the list in that regard. So many times, sometimes Memphis gets a bad rap for so many things, but we want to paint Memphis in a positive light in this regard. And so as a result of the intervention of the consortium, and when it comes to mammograms and treatments and resources and things like that, that we've been able to make available, we've been able to move the needle in a positive direction and move our status and ranking up the levels. And I think that is a continued road of growth and progress for us and our community and the organizations that are all engaged in it. So I'm hopeful and I'm looking forward to the future in that regard as it being promising. And we're definitely increasing and improving our impact on this area.
Absolutely. Wrap up, you've mentioned it throughout, but where do we go to learn more? So website, social media, where do we go?
Yes, website, mbcc.live, L-I-V-E. We also have it on our Facebook page, Live Memphis Facebook page. It's on Instagram as well. You can also check us out on the Centers for Transforming Communities.org, their website. You can learn more about them as well. And Common Table Health Alliance info is all there. So we're all one big happy family making an impact for our people.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Rugless, thank you for all you do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to seeing everybody on May 21st.